Welcome to our podcast. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest questions for English learners. How long does it really take to learn English?
And trust me, the answer isn't as simple as you might think. We're going to break down the myths, the struggles, and what actually works.
Exactly. So, if you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or even wondered if you'll ever be fluent, this episode is for you.
And we've been there too. I remember when I first started learning Spanish, I had this idea that I'd be fluent in a year. Spoiler alert, I was very wrong.
Oh, I can relate. When I was learning French, I thought I just needed to memorize enough words and I'd be good. But then, reality hit me.
Right. So let's get into it. Why does learning a language take so long? And is there a way to make it faster?
Okay, let's get to the big question. How long does it actually take to learn English?
Well, according to language experts, it can take 600 to 1,000 hours of study to reach a conversational level, depending on your native language.
But let's be honest, nobody actually sits down with a timer and tracks every hour they study.
Exactly, and not all study time is equal. If you're just reading a textbook, that's not the same as having a real conversation.
And let's not forget, everyone learns at a different speed. Some people pick up languages fast, while others need more time.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like motivation plays a huge role too. If you're enjoying the process, you learn faster. If you're just forcing yourself, it's going to feel like forever.
100%. That's why some people spend years learning English but still can't speak, while others learn quickly because they immerse themselves in the language.
So true. And let's talk about that. Because how you study makes a huge difference.
All right, let's be real. Learning a language is not easy. What was the hardest part for you, Jake?
Oh man, where do I start? The biggest struggle for me was speaking. I was terrified of making mistakes.
Same here. I remember my first conversation in French. I knew the words in my head, but when I tried to speak, I just froze.
Yes. And the worst part? You know the words. You've seen them 100 times. But when you actually need to say them, your brain just stops.
Exactly. It's like your brain goes on vacation at the worst possible moment.
And the fear of making mistakes makes it even worse. I remember one time, I was in Spain, and I wanted to ask for chicken. But instead, I accidentally asked for a shoe.
No way. What did the waiter do?
He just looked at me, very confused. And then he laughed and corrected me, but I was so embarrassed.
That's hilarious. But see, that's proof that mistakes are part of the process. All right, let's talk about some myths that can really slow down progress.
Oh, I love this topic. There are so many language learning myths that people believe, and they don't even realize that these beliefs are holding them back.
Exactly. Let's start with the biggest one. You need to live in an English-speaking country to become fluent.
Ah, yes. So many people think that if they don't move to the US, UK, or Canada, they'll never become fluent in English. But that's just not true.
Not at all. I know plenty of people who learned English fluently without ever leaving their home country.
Same. Thanks to the internet, you can completely surround yourself with English, watching movies, listening to podcasts, joining online communities.
Exactly. And let's be real. Not everyone who moves to an English-speaking country learns the language. I've met people who lived in the US for years, but barely spoke English because they stayed in their own language bubble.
Yes, that happens so often. Just moving to an English-speaking country doesn't magically make you fluent. You still have to put in the work.
That's such an important point. All right, let's move on to the next myth. You have to memorize thousands of words before you can start speaking.
Ooh, this one is dangerous. So many learners think they need to know all the vocabulary before they can even try to speak.
Right. And then they spend years memorizing words but never actually use them. It's like collecting tools but never building anything.
That's a great analogy. The best way to remember words is by actually using them in real situations. Even if you only know 500 words, you can still communicate if you practice.
Exactly. The goal isn't to memorize every word. It's to be able to express yourself with the words you do know.
And don't forget, Native speakers don't use every word in the dictionary either. We repeat the same words and phrases all the time.
Yes, most daily conversations use just a few thousand words. You don't need a huge vocabulary. You need confidence and practice.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, one more myth for now. You have to have a perfect accent to be understood.
Oh, this one makes me so sad. I've seen so many learners who are afraid to speak because they think their accent isn't good enough.
Yes. But here's the truth. Having an accent is completely normal. Everyone has an accent. Even native speakers have different accents depending on where they're from.
Exactly. And most people don't care about your accent. They care about understanding you.
Right. Think about it. When we hear someone speaking English with a French, Spanish, or Russian accent, we don't judge them. We just listen to what they're saying.
100%. So if you're listening to this and you're worried about your accent, stop worrying. Focus on being clear, not perfect.
Yes, communication is the goal, not sounding like a Hollywood actor.
All right, we've talked about the struggles and the myths. But now, let's get into the good stuff. What actually works when learning English?
Yes, because if you're spending hours studying but not seeing results, something needs to change.
Exactly. And the first thing that really helps is immersion. Surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
Oh, 100%. And the best part? You don't need to live in an English-speaking country to do this.
Not at all. You can change your phone settings to English, watch movies with English subtitles, and listen to English podcasts.
Yes. And don't just listen, speak. Even if you don't have a conversation partner, you can talk to yourself out loud or use apps that connect you with native speakers.
That's a great tip. Another one? Focus on phrases, not just individual words. Learning words one by one isn't very useful.
Right. Instead of memorizing go, store, and to, learn the whole phrase, I'm going to the store. That way, you can actually use it in real life.
And let's not forget, you need to make mistakes. Mistakes are proof that you're learning.
Yes. I always say if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to sound silly. The more mistakes you make, the faster you learn.
Now, here's something a lot of learners don't realize. Consistency is way more important than intensity.
Oh, that's such a good point. Studying 10 minutes every day is better than studying for 3 hours once a week.
Yes. Think of it like going to the gym. If you work out once a month for 5 hours, you won't get fit. But if you do a little bit every day, you'll see results.
That's such a good comparison. And the same thing applies to English. Even if you only have 5 minutes, use them.
Yes, even listening to an English song or reading one page of a book helps. Small steps add up.
100%. And don't forget to review what you learn. Repetition is key.
Yes. Have you ever learned a new word, but then a week later you completely forget it?
Oh, all the time. That's why reviewing is so important. If you don't use a word, you lose it.
Exactly. So find ways to bring new words into your daily life. Use them in conversations, write them in a journal, or even make flashcards.
Such great advice. Okay, before we wrap up, let's give our listeners some final encouragement.
If you're learning English and you feel stuck, don't give up. Learning a language takes time, but every little step you take gets you closer to fluency.
Yes. And don't compare yourself to others. Everyone learns at their own pace, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Just keep going, keep practicing, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends.
And let us know, what's your biggest struggle with learning English? Send us a message, and maybe we'll cover it in a future episode.
That's a great idea. See you next time.